Hello, hello, Eureka Whiskey Club members. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. If you're like me, you'll maybe be peeking at your phone to see who your favorite NFL team is drafting right now. Kind of kicking myself for scheduling this during this time, but it's just people reading names, so I'll figure it out later. And I'm a Jets fan, so it doesn't even matter anyways. But welcome to the April. Sorry, I had to think about what month we're in. April live tasting for Eureka Whiskey Club featuring Penelope. We got a lot of great things to talk about tonight. First of all, thank you for being a member. If you're a new member, we had a lot of new members signed up these past couple months. So if you're a new member and it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live from Facebook or YouTube, just remember that we do a giveaway every month on these calls. So please type your questions in the comment section on Facebook and YouTube, and make sure whatever account that you're logged in is associated with the name on your membership. So we know that the members are the ones answering the question. The members are the ones getting the prizes. We got two great prizes to give away tonight. They're both the same prize. So normally we have a first prize and a second prize, but lucky everyone here will both winners will get the same prize, which will be a signed Penelope barrelhead from our guest himself, and also a bottle of Penelope Rio, which is a phenomenal whiskey that Danny will tell us more about. But without further ado, I'd love to introduce our guest this evening, who is the master blender and founder of Penelope Bourbon, Mr. Danny. Is it Police? I'm sorry. I should have asked how your last name was pronounced. My apologies.
Polisi.
Danny Polisi with Penelope. So, Danny, tell us about yourself and how you came to work at Penelope or founded Penelope, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for joining despite the draft. But we appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know how many people have heard of Penelope on here or have drinking it before, but we don't have a long history of our company. We're not a 100-year-old distillery, but we were only founded 6 years ago, actually, come June 28th. And it really all started. It was simple. And, Penelope is actually my partner's daughter. So Mike Palladini is my business partner, and we're actually friends. We grew up together. We've known each other since 4th grade. So we, had always liked bourbon, whiskey, and
Since 4th grade.
Yeah, and we sat around drinking whiskey and talking about it. You kind of sit there and you
couple 9-year-olds just kicking back some bourbon.
Yeah. But you just sit around and you're drinking with your friends and you're just kicking around crazy ideas, and you think, hey, how about we could start a bourbon company one day? And so one day, so Mike and his wife, they found out that his wife was pregnant, and they always knew they were going to name her Penelope, or if they had a baby girl, they were going to name her Penelope. And something about that day just kind of sparked something in his head, and he calls me up and he goes, I want to start a whiskey company. I want to name it Penelope Bourbon. It was like, I was like, well, first off, congrats on the upcoming baby, but tell me more about this bourbon company. He's like, I don't know. I mean, neither of us had any experience in the business. We were really professional consumers, I guess you could call us. Kind of like everybody probably on here. We knew what we liked to drink, and we just kind of went after it. But the first thing you need when you start a bourbon company is probably you need some bourbon. So we looked around, and
important.
Yeah, neither of us were distillers, or we didn't have grandparents or great grandfathers that were distillers or anything. So we naturally go to Google, and you type, where do I buy bourbon? And then obviously, like, the stores pop up, So you have to refine your search, and you have to type where do I buy bourbon in a barrel? And a distillery called MGP pops up. It was actually a news article, it was an NPR article, and it said the largest distillery you never heard of. And it turns out to be MGP, and they have a lot of brands. They're the old Seagram's distillery. If people on here haven't heard of it, the distillery itself was founded in 1847 and has a long time history, and kind of the roots of some of the processes that now are standardized in how people make whiskey and bourbon in the country. The long rooted history. So we call them up and we say, hey, we want to start a bourbon company. And we kind of teed it up like we were these big buyers that maybe had a lot of, money and stuff like that. And we didn't have that at all, but we teed it up so we could get the meeting. And they said, fly out here and, talk to us. So we went out there, and, they had a whole spread of all the bourbons, all the different mash bills. And we sat there and we started going through them. And Mike and I have very different palates. So we start blending together bourbons that they make that we liked. And we came up with something that both him and I both liked. I was always like more of a wheated bourbon drinker. I like the high corn mash bills. Mike was always kind of like a rye forward type of person. Like he liked that spice. And what we ended up combining was 3 bourbons out of MGP, which was a high corn bourbon, 99% corn, and then a 45% wheated bourbon, and then a 21 rye bourbon. So when you put them together, you get a 4-grain blended bourbon, and you get a balance of all these grains. You get that corn sweetness, you get that kind of creamy wheat, you get the rye spice, and you get this like malted barley earthiness. So we came up with something we liked, and we just went forward with it. We designed a label. We put a big P on the bottle. Again, we really were just kind of very scrappy with everything. And, I think we designed our first label on Microsoft Word, and, we just had that passion to kind of make something that we liked, and we wanted to get it out there to see if other people liked it too. So we got a license in New Jersey. That's where we were from. And we sold it at the back of our car for a long time.
You're not a Jets fan too, are you?
What?
Said you're not a Jets fan too, are you?
No, I'm a Giants fan. We have a good pick tonight. Well, we should have a good pick tonight. But
sorry, Jersey.
No, but we weren't good at all. Our first bottle, if you ever see a Penelope bourbon that says batch 1 on it, just don't buy it. Just run. I mean, it sucked.
And that was the 4-grain, the first release.
Yeah. So we came to market with an 80 proof 4-grain bourbon in New Jersey. And you never would have thought that it would have went past that. But, we learned out of that first batch the importance of blending and kind of what we were doing. And it really kind of opened our eyes to really getting into the barrels, really kind of detailing out how we're putting these together, the processes of what blending is. And it was really the start of our bourbon journey. I think everybody on this probably has their own version of their bourbon journeys. Who introduced you to bourbon first? What was the first bourbon you drank? What was that first bourbon that made you go like, holy cow, like, that sucked you into that rabbit hole of, just really trying to figure out what it's all about.
How many batches would you say that into it? Because I'm sure the first batch was good. I think you're your own harshest critic, I'm sure, but or not. I've never had it. But how long did it take you from that first initial batch to what was the timeline on when you started producing whiskey that you were like, hey, this is good. This could actually be successful. We can turn this into a company that sells to MGP for millions of dollars.
Well, I still haven't come to that realization, but I think it was batch 4 of our barrel strength. So we first developed that 80 proof 4-grain blend of 3 bourbons. We did, we our first order of barrels, remember I said we teed it up like we were a big buyer. We were going to buy thousands of barrels. So our first order of barrels was 3 barrels. It was one of the corn bourbon, one of the wheat bourbon, one of the rye bourbons. And they looked at us like we were nuts. And I remember, so after intense negotiations, we went up to 6 barrels. And they're like, all right. And we just teed it up like, we're new to this. We know we're going to make mistakes, right? We don't have deep pockets, and we just give us a shot. We're gonna try, and that's what we did. So we bottled those 6 barrels, and you said batch 1, like maybe a tough critic, but the place we bottled at, they were running a jalapeno flavored tequila before they ran our whiskey. And I can tell you they didn't flush the lines all the way. Lesson number 1, always know what they're running on the bottling lines before they run your product. 2, make sure you check every single bottle that comes off the line, like have some sort of quality control process. So
that's when
we lost the first day of bottling, which was basically half that batch. So like 3 barrels. So half our product tasted like it was great for Taco Tuesday, but that was about it.
Yeah, I don't know about a jalapeno bourbon. That doesn't sound good. That's why I was saying that I learned early on in my career, anytime we put a peppered flavored beer on tap, that it was likely that the following beer we tapped up after that would have like peppers are just they linger for sure. So so you had to dump all that then, so that didn't go to market.
No, I think we still have cases of it in our warehouse. And we just wrote jalapeno on because we had to go through and sort out what was what. But we didn't get distribution because of that. We went and we presented it, and they were like, don't quit your day jobs, guys. And that's what led us to go get our own wholesaler license and just pack up our cars and go liquor store to liquor store and kind of sell it. And then, Wednesday night through Sunday night, my partner and I, we were at liquor stores doing tastings. You go to a liquor store and somebody, hey, do you want to try this? Like, so we were doing that, 5 days a week, because that's how you get it in front of people and then get them to try it. And hopefully they like it and they tell somebody else or they buy it. And that kind of kick-started our business in New Jersey. But to your point, like when did we start honing in on the blending part? Is 80 proof is one thing. When you blend in 80 proof, it's almost like your guide rails are a lot wider with how you put it together. Like that cutting of the liquid down to 80 kind of gives you a little leeway where it's a little easier to blend it. You blend out a lot of you proof out a lot of the imperfections and things like that. But then we started really liking the cast strength version of our blends before we proofed it down. And we would try people at it during these tastings, and they liked it too. And that was 2019. And I don't know if you remember, but there was a big push kind of in that period where it was like the truth is barrel proof. There was like that saying. So it was a big push for high proof stuff like barrel strength. So we went the polar opposite of like the bookends of how you make bourbon. Like the lowest you can bottle bourbon is at 80 proof, and the highest you can bottle it is at whatever it comes out of the barrel at. So that's what we did. But we learned like a really big lesson with blending and the whole, barrels and all that stuff. And at that point we were starting to kind of understand the like the physical aspect of MGP. So MGP has multiple warehouses. Stuff gets put in all different areas, so you have different batches that taste different. Barrels aren't alike, so we just learned that the nuances of the barrels themselves. So what we used to do for our blends is we'd bring all the barrels in, and I'd sample, and I kind of got defaulted to this job because my partner, he's always been like kind of a marketing and sales kind of guy. And then I have an engineering background, and I owned a bar restaurant for 15 years. But so by de facto, like I just had more patience to sift through every barrel and like profile out the notes on it. So I just learned, I didn't know anything about blending. So I would just go barrel by barrel and, just take notes on what I was tasting and then start trying to match up profile notes and try to get these barrels in some sort of order together to get these taste profiles to kind of come together, in like a uniform way. So I would do that. The other thing that was hard was we were blending together 3 different bourbons. So 3 different mash bills. So blending one mash bill is hard enough. You're just, going through and profiling out and putting them together. So we were essentially doing 3 different blends and then doing a final blend to bring those together. And I always tell people, they're like, oh, why are you, like, how do you blend, or why do you think, what would you tell somebody that's trying to be a blender or something like that? And I always say it's just like, it's kind of like playing darts. Like the more you throw the dart at the dartboard, like you're bound to hit a bullseye kind of thing. And in the early days, it was, it would take me a week and a half to do a blend. I would be going barrel by barrel, and then I would basically come up with a spreadsheet of basically how many iterations of ways can you put these barrels together. And then I would mix them together in those ways and basically come up with like 80, 90 blends and then sort of narrow it down until I got to, 4 blends. And then at that point, I liked them all, and then put them in front of some other people and see which one they like the best. But that's
and now how long does it take? You said it took you about a week and a half before. What I'm sure you
now, like I did one today, like I could get to the final answer in like 20 minutes, maybe 15.
Nice.
And also like picking out barrels. Like I know different parts of the distillery where I want to like grab things from, and so it's really just kind of time. If someone has the time to try and learn or do it, you can figure it out.
So I think I was trying to think of when I first heard of Penelope, and I think it was probably 2021, maybe 2022. And I saw it a lot on like social media whiskey influencer kind of accounts. Just as kind of, I was like, Penelope, I've never even heard of this. And I just kept seeing it like on TikTok. I saw it pop up on Instagram. I saw it pop up. Was there any conscious effort there to like target that audience, like to reach out to these influencers and maybe, provide them some sample bottles and market it that way? Was that a conscious effort, or did that happen organically?
It was honestly a little of both. I mean, in the beginning, you're looking on Instagram and you see the community, and it was a big community, and that's where we were getting a lot of sort of feedback and information from about what was going on in the community. And then you just kind of like, you start DMing people and you create these relationships, and then it's like, you want to try our stuff, and they're like, sure, and they're like, hey, it sucks, and then and it's like, well, we're a work in progress, like. And it was just a really open, honest relationship with a lot of these people online that eventually became actually really good friends of Mike and I's. But eventually they started to also like the juice, and and then they were actually talking about it. So that was really cool, because in the first time we were sending bottles out, like a lot of it wasn't getting posted. They were just like, yeah, it's okay, like, don't quit your day jobs again, that kind of thing. We heard that a lot, actually. But like I said, it's just like, if you put your mind to something, you just keep working at it. Like we got better, and like I said, by batch 4, people were starting to say, "Oh, okay, wow, now I see what you guys are doing."
And
That's
was
like
that
when,
all 4 grain at that point?
yeah, that was all the 80 proof and the barrel strength, and both of those are 4 grain.
Okay, and then when did Architect come into the foyer, or when did you
So
release that?
kind of like I always tell people, like the way we kind of operate the business is, again, it's just our bourbon journey. It's like curiosity. We did something at 80 proof because that's kind of like we were drinking in that range at that point, and then it was like, well, no, I'm curious what we could do at barrel strength. And then the next evolution is like, well, what if we put our whiskey in another barrel? What does that do to it? And then what if we use these these oak staves, and what is that going to do to it? So it just became like this sort of innovation factory and discussion internally. Then it was like, well, we made it, people like it, let's see what they think, and we put it out.
Cool.
But it really started to take off when in 2020 we turned our warehouse in New Jersey into a blending and bottling facility. So we got it registered with the TTB as a DSP, distilled spirits plant, and which allowed us to actually hold barrels of whiskey in bond in our warehouse. And we got a couple tanks. It was nothing fancy. We always said, if it looks like the sketchiest place on the block, you're at the right place, like kind of thing. Like it was small. It was maybe 2,000 square feet, but it had tanks. We had racks that we could put barrels on, and we were able to work on blends or work on finishes and be hands-on, and touch those barrels every day or take samples every day, and track that kind of stuff. So it really kind of helped our innovation pipeline kind of take off.
And at that point, was this both full-time? Was it full-time jobs for both you and Mike at that point?
Yeah. Once we started getting distribution and selling cases, and people started to notice the brand, we had to like make that leap of faith. And when you work with distributors and wholesalers, you can't be like, hey, like, I'm at my 9 to 5, like, can I call you later?
Yeah.
While they're out there, like, trying to move your product. It's like, no, you have to roll up your sleeves, get out there. And I think that's something that really helped grow it as well, as like, we were out there with them kind of in the field. We always took it on ourselves, to move the boxes of whiskey, not on them. So it was kind of being that good partner with them.
So roughly a year ago, I think it was June of 2023, you guys were acquired by MGP, a division of MGP called Luxco. What's that been like? I'm sure, what was that transition like? I'm sure it was pretty crazy going from the amount of states you were distributed at one point, and then, I think as of, what was it, December of last year, or January of this year, you guys were available a lot more places, California being one of them. That's, when I saw you guys were, getting distro in California, I think I emailed my rep, that same week, and be like, when can I get Penelope? I think it was even before that. I think when we opened our restaurant in Northern Clovis, California, I think we launched with a couple bottles on our menu there. So
yeah, we were. So the whole acquisition was kind of it was kind of crazy, a little out of the blue. We didn't expect it to happen when it did, but it happened at kind of like a interesting time in our bourbon journey, I guess you could call it. It's a tough business. I think there's a really high level, like a high barrier of entry to create a whiskey brand. A lot of times if you look out there, it's like, people that just kind of start one out of the blue are usually like they're either like movie stars or something, or they some sort of famous or a singer. Michael Bublé, I think, just came out with a Canadian whiskey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or Chris Stapleton too came out with a undisclosed whiskey.
Traveler.
But
Yeah,
so
Always Sunny guys came out with one too, right? Recently.
right. So there's like a lot of that. Or I run into people that just have a ton of money, and it's like they think it's going to be like a hobby, like they could just put a bunch of money into it, because it is very cash intensive. And like I said, when we started, we bought 6 barrels, tried to buy 3, and then we sold the 6 barrels. We took what we made and we bought 12 barrels. We sold that, bought 24 barrels, and just kind of kept doing that. And it was tough. I mean, it was stressful. You always had bills, and it was hard to grow. And then after 2 years, we were able to get like traditional bank financing, and that really kind of, injected some growth into the company, like allowed us to grow to meet the demand out there. But it was always cumbersome, because think about whiskey and having like an aged product. It's not like vodka where you just run it off the still and now you have your product. It's it takes years, so you're tying up a lot of money for years, and as you grow, it just gets exponentially bigger, that sort of burden. So we were putting away barrels and things like that. But it was getting to the point where our growth was kind of outpacing how we could keep up. And then it was kind of digging into the security blanket of having a business in 4 years, 6 years, and making sure that you had that enough product, if that makes sense.
No, yeah. I mean,
so we noticed we weren't laying down enough barrels that was going to meet our future growth, and it got us a little nervous. And then we were also outgrowing our facility in New Jersey, and we were trying to make a decision, like, were we going to invest in like a real location? So we were going to take 2 paths. One was the one that we were kind of pursuing was we were actually looking at land in Kentucky, and there was like a whole vision to build a distillery in the future. And the distillery part was like that was kind of a pipe dream, but we knew, we needed rick houses and we needed a blending and bottling facility, which takes up a lot of space. So we were looking at land in Kentucky. We actually worked out that, like there was a town that was going to give us 100 acres for $1.
Jeez.
Which was kind of cool. But like I said, like all of our liquid was coming from MGP. So we got a phone call from them one day, and they said, would you ever consider this? And we said, sure. And they made it very clear, like, we don't want to like change what you guys are doing. Like, we want you to keep doing what you're doing, but we want to we'll support you. Like, now we don't have to think about like insurances or like distribution or trucking or things like that. We could focus, because it was getting to the point where it was hard to focus on. It was hard to go back to the core things that, like, what got you into it, like the blending aspect or the innovation and stuff like that.
So you guys have the word bourbon, I believe. Well, this one actually doesn't say it, but I believe the company's called Penelope Bourbon, right? Or is it just Penelope now? Did we change that?
That's a really good question. We started dropping bourbon. Like, this bottle has bourbon on it.
Yeah, because my question was going to be, with the name Penelope Bourbon, does that limit you in releasing other types of whiskey? But it sounds like that's something you guys are thinking about, and maybe dropping the bourbon from the name. Is that the reason why? Or
Sort of like as it becomes more of a brand, and yeah, we're getting into like we've released a rye, we released a light whiskey. So yeah, we've started like dropping bourbon off of the name, and sometimes there's not like a really good plan around it, but
Well, it's funny. So, not that anyone cares, but so when I've been with Eureka for 13 years, and when I first started, everyone called us Eureka Burger, and that's what we are known as. And then I think the third restaurant we opened, the people that delivered the sign for the front of the restaurant messed up, and they didn't put Eureka Burger, they just put Eureka. And then ever since then, we've never had any sign that says Eureka Burger after it, because the owners are like, well, we don't want to be known as just a burger restaurant. Like, we want to do other things. So that was what you say, that it just kind of made me think of that. And like, as a company grows, you want to not limit yourself to certain things and be able to expand. So it's kind of cool.
right. My partner Mike always says it's like when Facebook came out, it used to be called the Facebook.
Yeah.
And then they dropped the, so it's just Facebook.
It's cleaner.
Yeah, much smaller, but.
So speaking of the name, obviously we talked about it's named after Mike's daughter. I was doing some research leading up to this interview, and I heard another interview that you and Mike did, and he mentioned that he had a couple of kids, and you have a couple children as well. Are any of them old enough to be jealous of Penelope that she has a bourbon or a whiskey company named after her? And is she old enough to know what that means?
I think she's starting to know what it means. So when we started the business, we had 0 kids between the two of us, and Penelope was the first one on the way. And then right after that, I had a son named Cooper. Then Mike and I both had kids after that. So now we have 5 kids between the two of us. I ended up with a pair of twins somewhere along the line. And so it's been bonkers, both professionally and kind of on the home front too. But she knows, she sees her name on the bottle too. And then my son's name is Cooper, and we have a series called the Cooper series.
Oh, nice.
And that's all of our cast finishes. So he's also learned like that his name's on the bottle. But he hasn't realized that his name on the bottle is much smaller than Penelope's name on the bottle. So that should be interesting.
That's awesome.
And then we have a rosé cast finish bourbon that we do. And the supply chain for rosé barrels was drying up last year. So we went to France and we partnered with a vineyard out there, and we actually developed our own rosé, because they said you can have all the rosé barrels you want. You just have to take all the rosé in the barrels too. So we created a brand called Lila and Kennedy Rosé, and those are my twin daughters.
Oh, awesome.
So
now each kid has something named after them. So that's
except for Mike's son Henry. So he doesn't have anything yet, but I'm sure we'll figure something out for him.
Nice. So let's go ahead and taste the product.
Oh, right, bourbon.
Always. If you're in the comment section, we got quite a lot of people commenting, so thank you for your questions. Tasting section. So this is all that everyone received batch 17 of the Penelope barrel strength at 116 proof. So we're all drinking the same whiskey tonight. So feel free to chime in the comment section what you're getting on the nose, what you taste, how the finish is. If you need a guide, everyone has always got their info card that has the info on the whiskey, some history on the distillery, some recent awards that Penelope has won, and then a cocktail recipe if you want to make that cocktail at home. But we're just going to taste the whiskey now. So this is the Penelope barrel strength. This is a mash bill, 80% corn, 7% rye, 7% wheat, and 6% malted barley, which is the 4 grain. And I'm assuming it was Danny's choice to go with the 80% corn because he said he liked the high corn mash bill. So,
Yeah.
Danny, tell us a little bit about the tasting notes on this one.
So this was actually, this is one of my favorite recent releases, mainly because well you kind of hit the nail on the head. So I was able to go up on the corn in the blend for this batch. The other thing that was fun about it was this was the first batch of a barrel strength that we did after we merged with Luxco MGP. And one of the best benefits about going that route with them that I don't think I touched on was, well, I said it was harder and harder to kind of get a barrel inventory together. So when we merged with them, it was like we had access to all their barrels. And it was like night and day. I mean, so we usually were operating in like the 4 to 5 year range. So at that point we were kind of open. The floodgates were open. Also, they own distilleries in Kentucky as well. They own Limestone Branch and then Lux Row. So I actually used some wheated bourbon barrels from Lux Row in this blend of barrel strength. So barrel strength up until then had been all a blend of 3 MGP mash bills. And then this one, I blended in that Kentucky wheated, which in turn bumped up the malted barley component. So it's usually around 4%. This one's higher, 6%. And then I was able to jack up that corn because I was able to create the backing of the malted barley, because you get that sort of earthiness that kind of lingers on the back end with the malted barley that you get in Kentucky bourbon that you don't really get in the Indiana stuff. The Indiana stuff is more grain forward, I think, and on the like the mid-age stuff, and then on the older stuff, it's more oak forward, and kind of that malted barley backing doesn't really come out as much. But so when I was able to bring up that malted barley, it allowed me to bring up the corn as well. Because before, if I brought up the corn is delicious and sweet and all that, but with it becomes a lot of these ethyls that kind of come off as hot, to just kind of use kind of plain language. You get a lot of that ethanol with that corn bourbon. So I was able to balance it out, and I think I really liked it. So that's why I blended it the way we did. So it is unique for this product. After 16 batches, it kind of brought it into a different direction. So each batch of barrel strength, like I usually stay within the lines of a road, but within that road, I might get a batch that I kind of highlight the citrus notes on. I might get a batch that I highlight, sometimes there's like hints of chocolate and things like that. So I just kind of try to highlight what stands out in the barrels for that batch. But this one brought in the road a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just personally, my tasting notes are here, but I get like cinnamon rolls fresh out of the oven, like fresh baked bread, cinnamon rolls. I get a little bit of citrus, a little bit like orange zest.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. And then up front, I get like creaminess, like a creme brulee, and then front palate, I get a lot of some stone fruit, like an apricot, and then I get like figs and maple towards the end, which I find quite nice. But again, those are just my notes. I get like maple and cinnamon lingering towards the end. Obviously, the finish here with the proof is very long. It sticks around with you. So I'm not sure if we have any tasting notes in the. So what? I guess you've been doing this for a long time. What is a question I always like to ask? What's the strangest tasting note you've ever heard someone say about your whiskey, and what's the best description you've ever heard about your whiskey?
Oh, Oh, what was the strangest? I remember the tasting. I'm trying to remember what he said though.
Well, jalapeno would be one of them, but that probably was accurate.
That wasn't that was a tough one. Oh man, I remember what did he say? It was like cracked something. It was like cracked something, and it was like, I don't know if it was like a British term or something, but it was like, it didn't sound good.
But he meant it as a positive thing.
He meant it as a positive, but it almost sounded like something that came out of a butt.
That's okay. Well, I don't get any of that, so that's
Yeah.
a good sign.
And then there's somebody called it their lawnmowing whiskey one time. Our 80 proof, not the barrel strength.
Okay, it just means it's sessionable. You can drink it
Yeah.
on a hot day outside, and it's nice. So a couple more questions, then we'll get into song choices, and then jump into Q&A from the audience. What would be your favorite expression that has been released by Penelope since the founding?
The barrel strength is it's like my anchor. You know, sometimes I stray away from it and it's not my favorite for, a couple weeks, but then like I always come back to it, and it feels like safe, home, enjoyable. It's always enjoyable. Something might come along and it excites me for a little bit, and I get into that, but then I like come back to barrel strength. The other one would probably be our Valencia cast finish. It's these orange wine barrels from Spain, and it almost drinks like a cocktail. It's a very citrus forward finish, and it's almost like an old fashioned in a bottle.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. I think this year is going to be better. They're going to keep it in the barrel a little longer. Like we have the ability to. We had the ability to get them over from Spain sooner than we did last year, and it's going to let us keep it in the barrel for much longer, like at least 4 months longer.
Awesome. And then my last question, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but any plans to do a single barrel program anytime soon? And how can I buy some?
Yeah. So we like with the transition this year, we kind of like pulled back on our single barrel program. So we have there are barrels out there, and it's our Toasted and our Architect series. We do different stave finishes with the Architect, and then we do just different char and toast levels with the Toasted. And then next year, I'm trying to work on the barrel program for next year right now. And I kind of want to change it up a little. I want to keep it exciting. A lot of people are into our Cooper series, which is that finishing series. And we get asked all the time, like, I wonder what this tastes like at cast strength. So I kind of want to try, just coming up with like a random menu of Cooper series items.
Well, keep me in mind, because I'd love to buy some barrels if you'll allow us. I know our members would really enjoy it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
All right, let's dive into our song picks of the month. As always, we pick a couple songs to add to our Spotify playlist. Danny, you remember yours, or should I'm trying to look it up on my phone right now.
Yeah. The first one was, I think, Bruce Springsteen, "Glory Days."
Yep. Any particular reason why that song?
I picked it. Well, one, like my partner Mike and I are Jersey guys, and
Makes sense.
Obviously Bruce is a Jersey guy, so it kind of resonated about home. And then the song itself is just kind of about friendship and people from the past and new people, I think, and I feel like that's kind of like whiskey in general. So
awesome. And then your second song was Zach Brown Band, Castaway.
That was just a vibe. You know, that's a good just drinking vibe song.
Nice.
It kind of like resonates. You know, when I listen to it, I just picture sitting with a glass of bourbon and just kind of hanging out, vibing.
Love it.
Like, you know, kind of reminds me of your shirt.
You got to keep it lively. It's this is the Southern California in April.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why I live in cold ass New Jersey. I ask myself that every winter. I'm like, what am I doing here? What?
You're from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm over it.
Well, I'm from Southern California, so I guess we just stay where we've grown up. But you're more than welcome to come out here anytime.
Oh, absolutely.
I chose. I just have one song, and mine was more of a vibe too, and it was the new Hosier song. I would never know if I'm pronouncing that. It's Hosier or Hosier. Yeah, it's Too Sweet by Hosier, and it's there's a line in it that says, "I'll take my whiskey neat, my coffee black, and my bed at 3." So I don't know. Just anytime that I hear a mention of whiskey in a song, I'm just like, yeah, that's got to go on the playlist. So no rhyme or reason, just heard that song and I was like, we need to put that on the playlist. So
love it. Yeah, nice.
That's my choice. All right, so let's dive into some questions. We have a few lined up here. So we'll be giving away a signed Barrelhead and a bottle of Rio to our 2 winners tonight.
Nice.
So Alvin Ogle II asked, what's your favorite mash bill to blend with?
The 99 corn. It like I wish there was way more of it than there is, and 2, it's just a great base. It's an amazing base to start a blend off. Oh, I was working on one today. I was actually at the distillery today. I just landed like an hour ago, but I was working on some blends there, and I had like a 7-year-old 99 corn, and I was like, this is going to make the great base for it. And then everything else is like salt and pepper a little bit. And you kind of work off of it from there.
It's like working with a great cut of meat, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing special about it. It's super one-dimensional. You know, so like a lot of people, when they taste just that mash bill by itself, are, you know, unimpressed. But like it's good when it's aged and it's aged right. Like it's good. It's good bourbon. It's just one-dimensional. So it's like, I don't know if you like that kind of thing.
Nice.
There's a time and a place for like just a simple mash bill, I feel like sometimes.
You like what you like.
Yeah.
Donald Fox asks, for those who haven't tried Penelope before, what makes the flavor unique compared to others?
The 4-grain blended aspect of our 80 proof and our cask strength in our Private Select 2 in our Cooper series, that the way we blend the 4 grains together using the 3 mash bills and the process we do to like get to that point, I think is what sets us apart from anything else.
Awesome. Matthew Archer asks, with how much blending you've done, have you noticed significant changes in barrel flavor profiles? How does your team manage the changes year over year as your volume increases?
That's a good question, because it was a topic today and it's definitely relevant. MGP, I mentioned they have a bunch of warehouses. The warehouses are not consistent. It's like you have metal clad warehouses, you have brick warehouses, you have wood warehouse, like you have every kind of brick house you can think of, and in different locations. They even have brick houses in Kentucky, like away from the distillery. So you know the mash bills might be the same, but they go off in different directions based on these brick houses that they're in. And I think that's kind of early on in the Penelope world, is kind of why we steered the company the way that we did steer it, because I started noticing that there were a lot of variations, and instead of like trying to conform to those variations, it just embraced it. And it was like, all right, well, I'm starting to be able to kind of categorize these, and other companies do this too. You know, they just kind of create different brands based on like the different profiles they get. But I kind of profile out the barrel types, and then I push them to certain SKUs or certain brands of ours. So, like, you know, the 21 rye, like I'll use certain types of those barrels just for architect, because that's what makes sense for architect. Or if something's way off, I'll do a unique blend in private select, which is a unique blend every year.
So, yeah, I mean, you earmark things based off of flavor profile, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, my boss just texted me and saying his question is that where can he buy one of those Penelope vests? Because apparently he wants one.
So. Oh, Lux Row. They sell them at the Lux Row Distillers gift shop.
Nice. All right, here. Let's see a couple more questions. Seth Johnson asks, what was the greatest hurdle you had to overcome in starting a brand new bourbon company, and how has that made you guys stronger as a company? Everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I would say like the inventory. You know, inventory had always been an issue, and I think we overcame that with the acquisition and merger with MGP. And I think ever since then, we've become way stronger than we were before.
Awesome. Linda Archer asks, what has been your favorite barrel finish so far that you've worked with or produced?
So my favorite finish that we've released is our Valencia, which is those orange Spanish wine casks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the one you said that tastes like an old fashioned.
Yeah, that's my favorite that we released. My favorite overall is I did a double finish one time. It was an R&D kind of experiment, and it was an Oloroso sherry finish. Nice. And then I double finished it and then put it into a cognac barrel, and it was really good.
A lot of raisin notes.
Yeah, like slightly more vanilla.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, but so I tried to do it again and I failed. It didn't come out the same. So
similar conditions or different conditions or
different barrels. Like when you source barrels, and that was the lesson learned back then too. When you source finishing barrels, you have to be really because a lot of people just say, I want an Oloroso sherry barrel, but you don't know where it's coming from. It could be different wineries and things like that.
Now, when you source finishing barrels now, do you have because I'd imagine you want them freshly dumped as possible, right?
Freshly dumped, and then I need to know. And a lot of people don't want to disclose exactly where they come from because they want to protect their sources. So you don't kind of just jump straight to the source. But I want to know exactly where they come from. I want liquid samples of what was in them before, so I could use that liquid to blend what I'm going to put into the barrel before I just kind of randomly throw it into the barrel.
And what percentage do you normally, like with the samples you received, like whatever you're putting in there, I'd imagine the percentage of what you add to get a general idea of what it's going to be like is fairly small. Is there just like you're adding a couple drops, or is there like a science to it, like as far as a specific percentage that you put in?
I always do around 2 to 3% of the barrel liquid to the whiskey blend will give you sort of an idea. I mean, it's all kind of relative. But it gives you a decent idea of what's going to happen, and then it's just time after that. But it also the timing is always surprising too. So the orange wine that is in these barrels, it's dark, it's thick, it's rich. And I was like, oh my God, when we put our bourbon in here, it's gonna, it's gonna be like a 3-week finish. It's gonna just overtake the bourbon. I was super nervous. I was trying it every day and it wasn't moving. So I'm like, that's weird. Like, so 8 months later, same thing. Like, wasn't getting that flavor from the barrel. So a year goes by. Finally, it started like kind of getting that taste into the bourbon. So it's you think something and it'll just do something different. It's all about just trial and error and keep trying it and tasting it and kind of doing that thing.
Awesome. All right, we got a couple more questions and we'll pick some winners. So thank you everyone as always for your questions. Again, I wish I could get to all of them, but limited time, and try to mix it up and ask questions from new people as often as possible. But I know, thank you to those that participate every month and are asking questions every month. I notice you, I see you, and thank you. Brian Z asks, do you have any other distillers or bottles that you look to as a North Star for Penelope?
Yeah. I got like, so early on when we first started the business, Pinhook was actually sort of a North Star. I mean, the bottle shape is the same bottle shape. So I mean, and what Sean was doing, Sean Joseph's.
Yeah, we've had Sean on before.
Oh, nice.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've actually become really close friends like over the last couple of years. So, but he, kind of looked up to him and what he was doing, and he was dissecting the blends and all that stuff, and so that was kind of a guiding light for us for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, if you don't know Pinhook, go check him out. A great brand.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let me see here. So last question here. David Singy asks, with your engineering background, are you more methodical when trying out blends, or is it more of a creative expressive outlet to you to experiment freely? It sounds like from what you said earlier, it may have started off as more methodical and, time consuming, but I'm sure as you went on, it's kind of, you have experience, but there's probably a little bit more creative freedom because you feel more confident in what you're doing, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And people don't like when I say this, but yeah, it's still very methodical. And I think that approach kind of works because passion is one thing, and like being so kind of focused on specific kind of profiles that you like I try to remove myself from the blending, or I don't have like passionate thoughts about what my favorite taste profiles are, or like my favorite notes. I try to kind of blank that out and look. It's really about balance. And I always kind of relate it to music a little bit. Like music's a passionate thing too. It's like if you ask somebody that has a band, they're like, I'm super passionate about like that type of music, right? But like some people like all types of music. And then people, so there's people like this, there's people like that. But music in general, like, because somebody doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not music. But there is some sort of kind of science behind it, because it's like there's rhythm and melody and things like that kind of like create a balance with the music itself to kind of get it in the realm of what people consider music. So I think the same thing is true with whiskey. I think when you're blending, it's all about balance and kind of taking what you have, taking the ingredients in the kitchen and putting them together in a balanced way. And then when you can find that perfect balance, you're going to have the outcome, which is tasting notes. And like some people are going to like them and some people aren't going to like them.
So what's the jalapeno whiskey of music? You don't have to answer that.
Yeah. Like it wasn't too, yeah. Moringa? I don't know.
Hey, be careful what you say. I think we have some big Moringa fans in our club. Just kidding. All right, cool. Let's run through the questions and we'll pick 2 winners. I know it's late for you, and I'm not sure if your Giants have picked yet. Have they?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll get you off here so you can go check.
No worries.
All right. So we got what's your favorite mash bill to blend with? We had what makes Penelope unique compared to others. We had the question about significant changes in barrel flavor profiles and how your team manages it from year to year. We had the question about the greatest hurdle you had to overcome as a new bourbon company. Your favorite barrel finish. We had the question about, do you have any other distillers, bottles you look to as a North Star? I should skip one. Sorry, guys.
Engineering background.
Did I skip that one? Yeah, with your engineering background, are you more methodical or creative? And I think that was it. Sorry if I missed one, but what were your favorite 2 questions?
Oh, I pick?
Yeah, you pick. Sorry. You want me to go through them again?
No. No. The one about the profile, like maintaining the profile like year over year.
Okay.
Because I think that's super relevant. I guess I don't have to explain why I like that one.
All right, Matthew Archer, congrats.
Nice.
On our lives.
And then I guess the engineering one, because I like engineering.
All right, so David Singhi and Matthew Archer, we have a bottle of Rio and a signed barrel coming your way. So congrats. Thank you for being members. Thank you.
Why did my lights go off?
Hey, it's theatrics, man.
Yeah. Ta-da!
The end. Well, thank you very much for your time. Greatly appreciated. Thank you to all our members. As if you haven't heard already, next month we'll be featuring a Weller foolproof barrel pick for all our members. And a little birdie told me we're going to have a lot of bottles extra for sale if members want to buy an extra bottle on top of the bottle they get in their bag. So make sure those credit cards are updated on your Shopify account so there's no hiccups with renewals. And we will see you next month. Danny, thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.